on Brother Columbus Cody.
So today, I want to talk to you for a few minutes from the subject. Be careful where you pitch your tent. Be careful where you pitch your tent. And you know me, I have a lot of scriptures for you, so write them down, go back, read them later. I'll do my best to teach you only what is truth, but always check behind me, okay? Genesis 13:12, write this down. Genesis 13:12. I'm going to read it to you in the King James, then I'm going to read it to you out of the NIV. It says this: Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. Now in the NIV it says this: Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now, I told you what I wanted to title today's lesson was, be careful where you pitch your tent. Be careful where you pitch your tent. The Bible is full of wisdom to show us how to take our every step of life. Full of wisdom, but we rarely consult the word, right? And because of that, we might find ourselves making decisions that will rob us of the enjoyments of life, rob us of the abundance of life, because we end up pitching our tent in the wrong places. So again, I'm going to say to you, and I'm going to say it over and over, be careful where you pitch your tent. Proverbs 3:5-6. You've heard this verse, but write it down. It's good to remind yourself. It says, trust in the Lord with what? All of our hearts, and lean not to your own understanding, but in what? All of your ways acknowledge God, and he will direct your paths. In all your ways and with all your heart, you need to acknowledge God. You need to trust God. You need to make sure you consult God before you pitch your tent. And when I say pitch your tent, I mean build your life. Before you build your life, ask God, is this a good place to build my life? Is this a good place to pitch your tent? Question of the morning: do you think God is interested in where you pitch your tent? God will show us the best place to set up camp. See, when you read Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, you start reading all the things the shepherd does for the sheep. And one of the things he does is make sure they have a good place to camp. And as our Father in heaven, he wants to make sure he directs us to a good place to build your life, to pitch your tent. The best way to live our lives is found within the word, but it's ultimately our choice. It's ultimately our choice, okay? When I was a boy, I experienced what it was like to go camping. I went camping like twice, right? I went to camp, summer camp. They took us camping out in the tents and things like. And I remember I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. And I remember thinking, I want my sons to experience this, right? How fun is it to sleep outdoors and build a fire? And I want my sons to experience this. But this is something that my sons will never experience because I'm scared of snakes. And my wife is never going to sleep outside. So I've been trying to figure out a way to pitch a tent in the living room so me and my boys can go camping once or twice, right? I thought about how strategic the camp directors were in picking our sites. Like, they didn't just say, pitch the tent over there. They said, okay, here is a good place to pitch our tent, right? They were experienced campers. And see, when you're with an experienced camper, you can just go with the flow. But if you go camping with me, I don't know how to put that tent together. I just went with the flow because I was with an experienced camper. Now, what am I telling you? God knows where everything should go. God is the experienced one. If you're going to go camping, you might as well camp with him. Because if you camp with me, I'm going to have us too close to the water, not far enough too far from the water. I'm going to have something messed up. Who you camp with is very important. In fact, it could mean the difference between life and death. life and death. 2 Corinthians 6:14 says, and be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion hath light with darkness? We read that verse and we think only of intimate relationships. This is any relationship. You don't want to be linked up, locked in with someone that doesn't love your God. And I hope that as we keep digging further into the scriptures, you will say, you know what? I really like so-and-so. And I'm not going to cut so-and-so off, but so-and-so can't have that kind of influence in my life. All right, you got to fill in who so-and-so is. And I hope none of y'all's name is so-and-so. So you're like, why are you calling my name? My bad. I didn't know you changed your name to so-and-so. 2 Corinthians 6:17 says, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean things, and I will receive you. We are not supposed to camp out with the unrighteous. Understand what I'm telling you. You can't avoid being around them, but you don't build your camp with them. Does that make sense? We live in the world, but we're not of the world. You can't help that the people on your job are the way they are. And God is not holding you responsible to go in there and force all of them to follow him. But if you pitch your tent near there, in a moment you're going to see what's going to happen to you. We're not supposed to be camped out with the unrighteous. We're called to live righteous lives before them in order to influence them to live righteously. Camping out and pitching our tent shows the intent to stay where you are. You don't build a camp if you're not going to stay the night, right? You might stop and rest somewhere like, okay, in about 30 minutes, we're going to pack up and leave again. But when you build camp, that means I intend to stay here. Does that make sense? Even if it's for a temporary time period. Now, think about this. Have you ever made a decision that you thought was going to be temporary and you're still in that situation? Like, I mean, it'll just be a couple of days. I mean, I'll just, I'm going to compromise my faith just this little bit. That was 20 years ago. And you still haven't gotten a hold of what's got a hold of you. Right? Be careful where you pitch your tent. We will live among unrighteous, but we shouldn't live in unrighteousness. Does that make sense? You will live among the unrighteousness, but we shouldn't live in unrighteousness. Something to never forget, we are not as strong as we think we are. And see, the funny thing is, I like to think of it this way. You're stronger than you think you are, but you're not as strong as you think you are, which makes no sense. But it does make a lot of sense, but it makes no sense. When I say you're stronger than you think you are, that's with God on your side, right? Like you can overcome so much more than you think you can, but you've been trying to do it yourself. But you're not as strong as you think you are. Because when you do try to do it yourself, you're going to eventually collapse, okay? And maybe you hold on for a short period of time. And maybe you don't compromise for a short period of time. But eventually, the weight is going to get too heavy and you're going to compromise. So the best thing to do is don't pitch your tent near that. Proverbs 6:27. It says, can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Can you engage in behavior that you think you're stronger than for very long and it not impact you? You cannot. I cannot. We cannot. We have to separate ourselves from certain things. And some things that we have to separate ourselves from is stuff we like. It's people we like. It's music we like. You know what? I just heard for the first time what he just said in that song. That song ain't for me anymore. It takes courage to say that. There's a lot of stuff in your life that it's fun. I enjoy this. But when I look at it, it's pulling me down. It's pulling me down. All right, I'm going to be transparent with you for a second. Anybody got any stones before I start? I want y'all to throw no stones up here and hit me. So not long ago, Tennessee passed a law where you can have sports betting legally, right? Before you could even do it legally, Brother Cody would every now and then do it not so legally, right? Really? Everybody, you judging me? Don't judge me yet, all right? So I would win a little and I'd lose a little. And I'd win a little and I'd lose a little. And then I said, you know what? I want to buy a new camera, but I don't have the money for my new camera. And then I counted up how many times I had lost in sports betting. And I said, there go your camera right there. And then I had this overwhelming feeling in my spirit that said, one day I'm going to bless you so abundantly financially, but if you have the handicap of a gambling addiction, you will squander everything I give you. That's what I felt in my spirit. And so I went to my phone and I deleted the app. Gone. I didn't say, okay, I'll leave it there because every now and then I might want to. It has to go. Because if I leave it there, the game that comes on later today, that's a lot. I know they're going to win. I'm just going to put 50 on it. I lost again. I'm going to tell you what I did one day with no money. I looked at the board and I said, I'm going to pick who I think would win and see how good I do. I lost again. And it was like the Lord was like, see, leave that mess alone. So I share that with you, so not so you can judge me later. And because I know some of y'all, maybe you don't sports bet, but you do some other stuff. I ain't gonna lie, I don't get a Powerball ticket until it gets over 600 million. It means, it's like as I'm walking around like I'm rich or something. It's only 500 million. Huh, it's nothing. But I don't rush to go get it. I don't. And I share that with you to say that because I listened to the Spirit at that time, I don't have a pull on me that wants to throw my money away. But I have friends that I listen to, and I know they don't have the control. And so, yeah, I'm trying to chase that win I got 3 years ago. It's not coming back. The devil knew exactly what to place in our lives. And instead of all of us hearing what I heard and obeying it, we hear it and we go, it's okay if I pitch my tent near it. I'm not going to be all the way in. I'm just going to keep one app. I'm just going to keep one app. Doesn't that sound like a person got a problem? Keep one app, and then I'm going to make all my bets on one app. I used to have 4 apps. I'm down to 1 app. The Spirit's going to say, would you get rid of that 1 app for me? Super Bowl is coming up. Okay. All right. Can you take fire in your bosom and not be burned? You cannot. And the devil doesn't want to show you that part. He will just show you, you ain't really in the trouble. You just near it. You can't help where you grew up at. Maybe you can't. But now that I'm old enough to walk away from things, now that I'm old enough and wise enough to separate from things, you have to do that. You have to do that. I find it interesting that as Christians, we often find out we want to find out what's the least I got to do and stay close with God. Like, how close can I walk with my sin still and God is okay with me? Why do we do that? Why don't we just dive head first into our relationship with him and let him strengthen us so we don't keep going back to what we used to be? We always want, what's the minimum I got to do to get to heaven? Did God give you his minimum? No, he gave you everything he had. When he sent Jesus, he gave us his very best. And we're like, well, Lord, I'm going to give you my best one day. But right now, let me just go and throw you a little something. God was like, keep your little something. Bring it to me when it's all you got. We want to be kingdom residents, but a worldly camper. It doesn't work like that. Joshua 24:15, it says this. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which the fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, We will serve the Lord. Paraphrasing. This verse is so good, I got to paraphrase it. Paraphrasing this verse would say something like this: choose ye today where you will pitch your tent. Where are you going to pitch your tent? Because it's your choice. Now, if you go back from this story, because it says here, Abram lived here and Lot pitched his tent near here. If you go back a little further, you find out that Abram and Lot, they were like this. They were Abram's the uncle, Lot's the nephew. They were so wealthy that the problem was they had too much. And so Abram's sheep herders were arguing with Lot's sheep herders because we supposed to be on this ground. And they like, we got too much stuff. So Abraham, being good uncle, he says, all right, Lot, we can't be fighting. We're family. Isn't that funny? Family, we fight. We family. And so he says, I tell you what, you pick where you want to go and I'll go the other direction. And so what Lot did is he looked out and he saw that land has all the watering holes. That land has the best greenery. I'm going to pitch my tent there. But it was near Sodom. Yes, it was. Isn't that how the devil works? That's right. He plants something that looks good near something that will destroy you. That's right. But because we don't have discernment and our eyes are not wide open and we're not constantly in prayer for the Spirit to say, you sure you want to camp there? Well, what's wrong with it? It looks good. You sure you want to camp there? You ever been to the restaurant and the waitress give you that look that tell you don't order it, but she don't say it? Like, I was going to ask, how's the meatloaf? Okay, I'll take, look, they can't say it because the boss may be listening. How's the meatloaf? They point way over here. Go over here to the chicken wings where you are safe. That's what the Spirit does to us. He says, You sure you want to pitch your tent here? Tell them what a king will do to them. That's what God told Samuel. Tell them what a king will. You sure you want to pitch your tent here? We don't care. It's nice here. So I pitched my tent near Sodom. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says this: be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. In the NIV, it says this: don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Be careful where you pitch your tent. I know dude on the job don't seem that bad. Dude on the job has ulterior motives. I know old girl at the salon don't seem that bad. Old girl's got ulterior motives. And when you link up with the Spirit will say, hey, did you hear what he just said? Stay away from him. Did you see what she just did? You need to distance yourself. You will be constantly getting prodded and poked like this, but you still got to make the decision. Yeah, I know, but ain't nobody perfect now. I'm just going to pitch my tent near them. I ain't going to connect all the way. We just going, okay. Bad company corrupts good character. You ever been around someone that brings out the worst in you? All right, don't look at nobody because they may know, why is she looking at me? Matter of fact, don't nobody look at me right now. Look down, look down. You haven't said a cuss word in months. But as soon as you get around that person, every word that come out of your mouth is filth. You're like, this isn't even me anymore. It feels weird to you because this ain't how I talk all the time anymore. Why am I talking like that's because you around her. And you feel comfortable just being different around her. And Jesus is like, hey, I'm in the room too. I don't want to listen to all that. Making my ears burn. You know that there is an attraction to the lady or the gentleman on your job, but you keep finding a reason to be near their cubicle. Hey, so did you see the game last night? Man, she don't watch football. She don't even know what a football is. Get away from her cubicle. Girl, let me tell you, I was at the Coach store last night. You don't even know how to spell Coach. Get away from my cubicle. You haven't smoked in 2 years. Why would you go out on your coworker's smoking break with them? Why put yourself in a position where your weakness can just take over your life? I recognize I'm not, y'all go ahead. I'm going to take my break at the vending machine instead. All right, I'm going to put a Twizzler in my mouth instead of a cigarette. So I'm going to gain 19 pounds. But I ain't going to smoke. I said I was done. You haven't had a drink in 5 months. You promised God you were done with it, right? So why are you going to happy hour with your friends? Like, guys, I appreciate y'all inviting me. I'll catch y'all the next time. I can't do happy hour. I'm pitching my tent somewhere that's going to cost me. Does that make sense? You have to be wise enough to know I'm not as strong as I think I am. Be careful where you pitch your tent. Let me show you something real quick. Back to Genesis 13:12, it says, Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. Now, if you look down at Genesis 19 and look at verse 1 through 3, it says this, and there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat at the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself and with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned into him and entered his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. So in Genesis 13:12, Sodom builds his tent near Sodom. Lot built his tent near Sodom. If you look in verse 19, chapter 19, he started off with a tent near the city. Now he lives in a house in the middle of the city. Right? You got to see the progression here. This is what the devil doesn't show you. He doesn't show you that if you just indulge a little, eventually it's all you're going to know. Right? You went from living outside the city. Now you're at the gate greeting people as they come in. Hey, come on in. Join us over here in Sodom. No doubt, Lot had feelings in his heart all along. This is not a good place to raise a family. Oh, this place is bad. This place is horrible. Let's get that house right there, right in the middle. You ever heard the saying, don't let the devil ride, because if you do, he's going to want to drive? There's truth to that. There's truth to that. He wants to drive you straight to destruction. He's not interested in disrupting your life. He wants to destroy your life. And we make it easier when we pitch our tent near sin. You don't even have to indulge all the way in the sin. Just pitch it near the sin. Jesus says, if you look upon a woman and lust of her, if you've already committed adultery in your heart, you're pitching your tent a little too close to that one. You need to just, clear my mind, because I am thinking, seeing, indulging in the wrong thoughts. Lord, please purify my mind. It gets worse, though. Let's read a little further. Little further. This is verse 4 through 7, Genesis 19. It says, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house around. They were surrounded the house, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. Know them means have sex with them. And Lot went out to the door unto them and shut the door after him and said, I pray you, brethren, do not do so wickedly. Don't do this. This is wrong. He invites, in their custom, when you come into my home, I'm now responsible for you. So he invites these men into his home, wash their feet, feed them, give them a great evening of hospitality, and now they're about to go to bed. So it's about to lay down. All of a sudden, his house is surrounded by young men and old men banging on the door. Bring them out, Lot. We saw him in there. We saw him in there. That tall one looks kind of cute. I think that was from Memphis. They said Kurt. That was kind of Kurt. All right, I'm done. I ain't going to teach you no more. They knock on his door and they say, bring out the men so that we may know them. And Lot says, guys, don't do this. Don't put me in this position, fellas. Come on now. These are the same dudes that he probably drank with last week at the bar. Same dudes that he told dirty jokes with 2 weeks ago. And now I don't approve of that though, fellas. Come on now. Don't do that, man. Can y'all visualize this? There's a mob outside his house that wants these men. Bring them out. Y'all with me? It gets a little worse. Let's look a little further. Look at verse 8. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as it is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. Lot says, I got daughters, and they are pure. They've never been with a man. Take them instead. Now, I'm a father of sons. And I thank God daily he didn't give me a daughter, right? Because I would be that dad that never lets his daughter do anything. I'd be so overprotective. She'd be like, Dad, can I please go outside? I'm like, eat your food and get back in the closet. She's like, I'm 35, Dad. What did a dad just say? Honor your father. Get back in that closet. I would be so overprotective. I couldn't imagine being a man that would say, girls, I need y'all to take one for the team. These crazy guys out there, you guys got to help us out here. Imagine how far his mind had gone from sitting in worship with his uncle Abram to now about to let these men ravish your daughters, ruin your daughters because of the tradition that we're under. Be careful where you pitch your tent. I guarantee you when he pitched his tent near Sodom, he never saw one day I'd have to choose between my daughters and a custom that we have. The devil's not going to show y'all that. He's just going to tell you, hey, it looks nice over here. Pitch it near here. You tell me, did living in this city among these ungodly people affect Lot? Did he change them toward his God, or did he become more like them and their gods? We're not as strong as we think we are. We're not as strong as we think we are. Look at the next verse. Verse 9. It says, and they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs to be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. You're an outsider, Lot. You don't run nothing here. And they're pushing his door, trying to break the door down to get what they want. Now, put yourself in Lot's shoes. He's scared. He's nervous. You know, if you've never been amongst a mob, when you're level-headed, the mob is never level-headed. It's hard to get the mob to calm down. Rarely does one voice get the mob to calm down. He says to them, you can have my daughters. We don't want your daughters. In fact, what we're going to do to those men, we're going to do worse to you if you don't let us in. Can you see how his life has gone downward, downward, downward? Not because he moved straight into Sodom. He just pitched his tent near Sodom. Let me read verse 12 through 17 for you. This is the NIV. I just want you to visualize it. It says, the 2 men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here? sons-in-laws, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you. Get them out of here because we are going to destroy this place. So the men that were in his house, they tell Lot, look, get your people and get out of here. God's about to destroy these cities. Get your people, get out of here. Okay, now before this, if you go back and read it, the men in the house, they struck everyone outside blind. Okay, all the people that was trying to break in and get to them, they're now blinded. And he's telling Lot, get your people and get up out of this city, right? So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-laws thought he was joking. Who jokes about this? His sons-in-law thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters whom are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Imagine how good God is, that God saved Lot, not just because of Lot, but because of Abram. There's people in your life that are praying for you, and that's the only reason why your life has not been consumed. And we are the reason that someone else's lives have not been snuffed away, because we keep lifting them up. We keep praying that one day, Lord, they will see you for who you are. But don't you look back. You keep moving. Don't look back. When we pitch our tents among the ungodly, we will find ourselves oftentimes looking back, thinking about how things used to be. We're free, but we find ourselves longing to be in bondage again. We've got to unlearn Sodom's ways and then learn God's ways. There's a lot of stuff we got to unlearn. Because of where Lot pitched his tent, he ends up suffering things God doesn't desire for his life. And because of where we pitch our tents, we end up suffering things that God doesn't desire for our lives. Look at verse 26. It says, but his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. She couldn't resist. She just had, I just got to look back. Sometimes when you pack up and you move away from campsite, you're going to end up losing some folks, right? Some folks aren't willing to move forward. They always want to look back. We got to move forward. Sometimes it will be people that you are really close to or that you really don't want to lose. But whatever you do, don't look back like they do. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. As men, we're responsible for pitching our family's tent in a location that's going to lead to blessings and not curses, right? That's our job. We're supposed to, nah, let's not pitch it here. This doesn't have the right this and doesn't have the right that. We have to be strong enough to be so connected to God that we know this is not an area to pitch a tent for my family. Lot's decision to pitch his tent near Sodom cost him quite a bit. It cost him, 1, his safety. It cost him, 2, his integrity and his ability to influence others. We're supposed to be the salt of the earth, the light of the world. That's what we're supposed to be. But if the salt loses its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? What good is it now that we can't impact anybody? It says to us that Lot went to his future son-in-laws and said, hey guys, pack your stuff up. We're getting out of here. God's going to destroy this city. And they did not believe him. Why would you not believe that word? Because it wasn't consistent with how you were living yesterday. Lot, you can't convince me that God is about to destroy. Which God are you talking about? Because I don't even know that you know God. You see what I'm saying? Like, obviously his lifestyle wasn't so different than theirs that they trusted he has a word that we don't have. So when he convinces them or tries to convince them, his integrity, his witness has been lost. You'd be surprised at how pitching your tent near the world will rob you of the impact of your witness. They don't want to hear about Jesus from you. But why not? You're so valuable to the kingdom. The kingdom needs your voice too. But you confuse me, Brother Cody, because you're saying all I got to do is say A, B, and C. But when you live D, E, and F, A, B, and C, and D, E, and F don't go together, Brother Cody. So I think I'm going to wait for someone else to teach me about Jesus. And then tomorrow comes for me, but not for them. I lost an opportunity to be a witness because my lifestyle didn't match my words. And because they don't match, I confused someone. And the Bible tells us that the enemy is the author of confusion, not God, not God. He lost his wife. She turned into a pillar of salt. Don't know if he was hoping that was going to happen, but he's like, baby, look back, baby. Look, baby, look back. I ain't going to look back till you do. Look back, baby. Let's look at the moral and spiritual decline of his daughters now. Okay? Visualize it. Pitches his tent near Sodom. Picks up his tent, gets a house in Sodom. Now in Sodom, his ways have shifted some. He's a little bit more lax with his walk with God. Maybe he ain't been to church in months. Once you miss one Sunday, missing two becomes easy. Missing two, missing four becomes easy. And before you know it, it's like, hey, how do y'all dress for Easter again? I forgot. I tell you, people say all the time, man, I don't even know how to get back in church. I say, 1 foot at a time. Step on in the doors. The Lord, as soon as you walk in, eruption in heaven is going to take place because there's a chance to rekindle this walk with you. God is not interested in what you put on. Well, I don't know about y'all. I use the church clothes excuse. I ain't got no church clothes. Really? I had a friend of mine, his daddy bought me a suit. Said, all right, now come with us. Okay, but I ain't got no shoes. I ain't got no socks. Okay, I got to go to church with him now. His wife looks back. He loses his wife. Now they're safe. His daughters and him are safe in the mountains. Look at how his daughter's life goes down. Verse 19, and this is chapter 19 still, verse 30 through 36. I'm going to read it to you out of the NIV. It says, Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day, one of his older daughters said, one day the older daughter said to the younger, our father is old and there is no man around here to give us children, as it is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father. That night they got their father to drink wine and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father. So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. This sounds like something you see, Jerry, right? This is what it feels like, doesn't it? Something you see on, what's the reality TV? Hey, first off, I've drank wine before. I ain't never been drunk enough on wine to where I don't know if someone came in the room with me. But to do it 2 nights in a row, something wrong with Lot. That's all I'm going to say. His daughter says, let's get him drunk. Let's get pregnant by our dad. Now, when the younger daughter heard that, she should have went like, huh, girl, you nasty. What'd she say? Okay, you do it first. Next night, she does it. Do you see the difference in the mindsets? If dad would have never moved us near Sodom, those girls' minds might not be the way it is. I guarantee you they've seen stuff and heard stuff that made them relax their integrity as well. If we hang with the wrong crowd, eventually we'll become like the crowd. We will talk like them. We will walk like them. We will act like them because we're not as strong as we think we are. As a teacher, one of the hardest things for me to do is persuade my students that they don't have to do what they see everybody else do. They don't want to hear that. But coach, all my friends are doing it. I get it. I get it. I hear you. I'm just going to say this and I'm going to leave it alone. When you fall into the snare, the trap, I'll be here to listen to your problems again. But if I were you, I would get as far away from them as possible. We've all watched a person connect to the wrong crowd and go the wrong way. And some of us are connected to the wrong crowd. So it's my prayer that we all look within and honestly acknowledge, where have I pitched my tent? Like, where's my life at? Honestly now, don't trick yourself. Don't try to, well, I mean, it ain't as bad as it could be. No, be honest. I got my tent, my life pitched in a horrible place. It smells like sewage. You know, it's all kinds of drama every single day. This can't be what God wants for me. Where and how are you building your life? And if it's not where God has ordered, I pray that you will choose today to remove the stakes from your tent. Like, pull them up. Once you remove the stakes, that tells everybody, I'm finna go. I'm not staying here. Remove the stakes from your tent and then ask God to remind you where you're supposed to be camped out. Because I guarantee he's told you before. So remind me, Lord, where'd you say to camp, pitch my tent again? And then reassemble your tent there. And I promise you, everything you thought you've lost, God will restore. God will re-energize you. God will make your life worth living again because you moved your tent away from what has been draining you and robbing you and pulling everything good that he had for you. It's been forfeited because of where you live. Picking up camp and moving away feels scary. It may feel too hard. Well, I don't even know where to start. Start by saying, Lord, I don't want to be here anymore. That's the first thing you can acknowledge. I don't like where I'm at. I admit it. I pitched my tent in the wrong spot. I don't know how to move it. And God says, I got you. I got you. I will show you how to move it. But when he shows you how to move it, don't say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Let me just put these stakes back in the ground here and I'll move tomorrow. Because tomorrow is a date only on a what? Only on a fool's calendar. You get today to make a decision. Because you don't know what tomorrow holds. And I guarantee you God has spoken. If you have any connection to God at all, God has spoken to you in this 40 minutes to tell you, I don't like where your tent is. Or you felt something inside of you that's warring and pulling because I don't want to move my tent. Your tent's in the wrong place. I don't want to move my tent. Shut up, Brother Cody. Your tent's in the wrong place. Why Pastor got to let him talk? Your tent's in the wrong place. I don't know how else to paint this picture for you than for you to look at Lot's life. He started from the top, now he's here. That's the opposite of the song, right? He started up here. God blessed him with abundance, and he said, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to pitch my tent over here. Oh, it's a little close to Sodom. Now I live in Sodom. Oh, guys, take my daughters. Daughter's sleeping with daddy. He's way down here. How did I get from here to here? There were signs all along. The first time he walked into Sodom, he should be like, ooh, this ain't for us. Uncle Abraham, you think we can move back close to you? I promise you this, the Lord will speak to your heart every time a decision needs to be made that will compromise your faith. That's right. And then you have to make the choice And sometimes it's a hard one because it's going to go against what your flesh really wants. But I have never made a decision to honor God that I lost something in this world that I regretted. Does that make sense, what I just said? Like, never have I gone, I wish I had done it my way still. I've always been like, thank you, Lord, I did it your way. It was hard. I didn't like it at first. To be honest, sometimes I still kind of don't like it, but I'm grateful that I'm not here, right? Be careful. I don't know how else to say it any more emphatic. Be careful. Be careful where you pitch your tent, okay? Thank you for lending me your ears, and I pray that you will give God your hearts. God bless you guys.